Take me through a day, because this is fascinating. Through your comedy tour, what does a day in the life of Jordan Peterson look like? Which is this very interesting day. Let's look at the day when you have to speak.
Mhm.
Preparing your mind, thinking of what you're going to talk about, preparing yourself physically, mentally to interact with the crowd. Through the actual speaking, how do you adjust what you're thinking through? And how do you come down from that so you can start all again as a limited biological system?
Well, I'm usually up by 7 and ready to go by 7:30 or 8. And
Coffee?
no,
Nothing.
steak and water.
How many times a day steak?
That's all I eat.
How many times?
3 or 4,
3 or 4.
depending on the day.
Steak and water.
Steak and sparkling water. Yeah, so monastic asceticism, man.
Well, I did the proper, I usually eat just once a day. I did the proper Jordan Peterson last night. I just ate 2 steaks.
And how was that?
Was wonderful.
Yeah, well, if you have to only eat one thing, could be worse. So anyways, I'm ready to go at 8 because we're generally moving.
What does moving mean?
Flying.
You're constantly
flying somewhere.
Okay.
And we usually use private flights now because the commercial airlines aren't reliable enough, and you cannot not make a venue, right? So that's rule number 1 on a tour. You make the show.
Yeah.
So everything, and then rule number 2 is anybody who causes any trouble on the tour is gone because there is 0 room for error. Now, no, there's 0 room for unnecessary, unaddressed error. So because there's going to be errors. The guys I have around me now, if they make a mistake, they fix it right away. So, and that's great.
There's a lot of people relying on you to be there, so you have to be there.
Like 4,000 people typically.
Yeah.
So then I'm on the plane, and I usually write, or often, because there's no internet on the plane, and that's a good use of time. So I'm writing a new book, so I write on the plane.
Typing or handwriting?
Typing. Yeah, typing. And then we land and we go to, it's usually early afternoon by then, we go to a hotel. It's usually a nice hotel that's not corporate. I don't really like corporate hotels. My secretary and one of my logistics guys has got quite good at picking kind of adventurous hotels, boutique hotels. They're usually in the old parts of the city, especially in Europe, somewhere interesting. And so we go there, and then lunch usually. And sometimes that's an air fryer and a steak in the hotel room. And I leave a trail of air fryers behind me all across the world. And then Tammy and I usually go out and have a walk or something and take a look at the city. And then I have a rest for like an hour and a half or an hour, half an hour.
Like a nap? Or just
nap. I have to sleep for 20 minutes. And that's about all I can sleep. But I need to do that in the late afternoon.
And that refreshes your mind.
Yeah. That wakes me up again for the evening. And then Tam has to sleep longer. She's still recovering from her illness. And so she has to sleep longer in the afternoon. And that's absolutely necessary for both of us, or things start to get frayed. And so then we go to the venue. And then I usually sit for an hour. If I'm going to lecture, I've been doing a lot of Q&As, and that's a little easier. But if I'm going to lecture, I have to sit for an hour. And then I think, okay, what question am I trying to investigate? I have to have that. So that's the point. What mystery am I trying to unravel? It's usually associated with one of the rules in my book, because technically it's a book tour, but each of those rules is an investigation into an ethic. And each of them points to a deeper sort of mystery in some sense. And there's no end to the amount it can be explored. And so I have the question. The question might be something like, put your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Okay. What does that mean exactly? What does house mean? What does put mean, that active verb? What does perfect and order mean? Why before you criticize the world? What does it mean to criticize? What does it mean to criticize the world? How can you do that properly or improperly? So I start to think about how to decompose the question.
And you start to think which of these decompositions are important to really dig into.
Yeah, well, then they'll strike me. It's like, okay, there's something there that that I've been maybe noodling around on that I would like to investigate further. Then I think, okay, how can I approach this problem? I think, well, I have this story that I know, I have this story, and I have this story, but I haven't juxtaposed them before. And there's going to be some interesting interaction in the juxtaposition. So I have the question, and I kind of have a framework of interpretation, and then I have some potential narrative places I can go. And then I think, okay, I can go juggle that and see what happens. And so then what I want to do is concentrate on that process while attending to the audience to make sure that the words are landing, and then see if I can delve into it deeply enough so that a narrative emerges spontaneously with an ending. Now, I'm sure you've experienced this in podcasts, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but my experience has been, if I fall into the conversation and we know about the time frame, there'll be a natural narrative arc. And then, so you'll kind of know when the midpoint is, and you'll kind of see when you're reaching a conclusion. And then if you really pay attention, you can see that's a good place to stop. And it's kind of, you come to a point, and you have to be alert and patient to see that. And you have to be willing to be satisfied with where you've got to. But if you do that, and then it's like a comedian making the punchline work. It's like, I've got all these balls in the air, and they're going somewhere. And this is how they come together. And people love that, right? To say, oh, this and this and this and this and this. Whack. Together. And that's an insight. And it is very much like a punchline.
Well, that's interesting because your mind, actually, I'm a fan of your podcast too, and you are always driving towards that. I would say for me in a podcast conversation, there's often a kind of Alice in Wonderland type of exploration.
Mm-hmm. Down the rabbit hole, man.
And then a new thing pops up. The more absurd, the wilder, the better.
Yeah.
Conversations with Elon are like this.
Yeah, I bet.
It's like, actually, the more you drive towards an arc, the more uncomfortable you start to get in a fun, absurd conversation because, I'm now one of the normies. No, I don't want that. I want to be, I want the rabbit. I want the crazy.
Yeah.
Because it makes it more fun. But somehow throughout it, there is wisdom you try to grasp at, such that there is a thread to.
Well, that's the thing, man. You're following the thread, eh?
Yeah.
The thread's the thread. Well, that's right. That's what we're trying to do. That thread is the proper balance between structure and spontaneity, and it manifests itself as the instinct of meaning, and that's the logos in the dialogos, and it really is the logos, and God only knows what that means. You know, I mean, the biblical claim is that logos is the fundamental principle of reality. And I think that's true. I actually think that's true. Because I think that meaning that guides you, well, here's a way of thinking about it. I've been writing about this recently. What's real? Matter. It's like, okay, that's one answer. What's real? What matters is real. Because that's how you act. Okay, so that's different than matter. It's like, okay, what's the most real of what matters? How about pain? Why is it the most real? Try arguing it away. Good luck. So pain is the fundamental reality. All right. Well, that's rough. Doesn't that lead to nihilism and hopelessness? Yeah, doesn't it lead to a philosophy that's antithetical towards being? The most fundamental reality is pain. Yes. Is there anything more fundamental than pain? Love. Really? If you're in pain, love and truth, that's what you got. And you know, if they're more powerful than pain, maybe they're the most real things.
When you think about reality, what is real? That is the most real thing.
Well, it's a tough one, right? Because you have to, because if you're a scientist, a materialist, think, well, the matter is the most real. It's like, well, you don't know what the matter is.
Yeah.
And then when push comes to shove, and you'll find out what's most real.
Yeah. I feel like this is missing. Physical reality is missing some of the things So, of course, pain has a biological component and all those kinds of things, but it's missing something deep about the human condition that at least the modern science is not able to describe, but it is reaching towards that.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it's the reason, one way to describe it as you're describing is the reason it's reaching it is because underneath of science is this assumption that there's a deep
Logos.
thing to this whole thing we're trying to do.
Well, there's two traditions, right? In some sense, there's two logos traditions. There's the Greek rational Enlightenment tradition. That's a logos tradition. And it insists that there's a logos in nature and that science is the way to approach it. And then there's the Judeo-Christian logos, which is more embodied and more spiritual. And I would say the West is actually an attempt to unite those two. And it's the proper attempt to unite those two because they need to be united. And I see the union coming in your terms. I talked to Franz de Waal, for example, about the animating principle of chimpanzee sovereignty. And that's pretty close biologically. Is it power? Because that's the claim, even from the biologists often. The most dominant chimp has the best reproductive success. It's like, oh yeah? Dominant, eh? You mean using compulsion? Okay, let's look. Are the chimps who use compulsion the most successful? And the answer is sporadically and rarely. And for short periods of time. Why? Because they meet an unpleasant end. The subordinates over whom they exercise arbitrary control wait for a weak moment and then tear them into shreds, right? Every dictator's terror. And for good reason. And de Waal has showed that the alpha chimps, the males, who do have preferential mating access often, are often and reliably the best peacemakers and the most reciprocal. And so even among chimps, the principle of sovereignty is something like iterated reciprocity. And that's a way better principle than power. And it's something like, I've been thinking, what's the antithesis of the spirit of power? I think it's the spirit of play. And I don't know what you think about that, but when you have a good podcast conversation, you already described it in some sense as play. It's like there's a structure, right? Because it's an ordered conversation, but you want there to be play in the system. And if you get that right, then it's really engaging. Mm-hmm. And then it seems to have its own narrative arc. I'm not trying to impose that, even though that's another thing I don't do. I didn't come to this conversation at all thinking, here's what I want out of a conversation with Lex Fridman. Like instrumentally, I thought, I'll go talk to Lex. Why? I like his podcasts. He's doing something right. I don't know what it is. He asks interesting questions. I'll go have a conversation with him. Where's it going to go? Wherever it goes.
Embracing the spirit of play. So what you have this, when you're lecturing, you're going in front of the crowd.
Yeah.
You thought of a question.
Yeah.
You get on the stage. First of all, are you nervous at all?
I'm very nervous when I'm sitting down thinking through the structure initially, which is why my wife and I have been doing Q&As, and that's easier on me.
Yeah. It's the it's the way comedians are nervous. Like Joe Rogan just did his special this weekend. And so he now has to sit nervously like a comedian does, which is like, I have no material now.
Right.
I have to start from scratch.
When I was doing the lectures constantly instead of the Q&As, basically what I was doing was writing a whole book chapter every night. Yeah. And, now that's a bit of an exaggeration because I would return to themes that I had developed, but it's not really an exaggeration because I didn't ever just go over rote material. Ever. So it's very demanding. And that part's nerve-wracking because I sit down, it's an hour before the show, and I think, can I do this? And, the answer is, well, you did it 1,000 times, but that's not this time.
Yeah.
It's like, can I come up with a question? Can I think through the structure? Can I pull off the spontaneous narrative? Can I pull it together? And the answer is, I don't know. And so then I get it together in my mind. I think, And that's hard. It takes effort and it's nerve-wracking. Okay, I got it. But then there's the moment you go out on stage and you think, well, I know I had it, but can I do it? No notes.
Yeah.
And then the question is, well, you're going to find out while you do it. And so then I go out on stage and I don't talk to the audience. I talk to one person at a time. And you can talk to one person, because you know how to do that. So I talk to a person, and not too long because I don't want to make them too nervous. And then someone else and someone else. And then I'm in contact with the audience. And then I can tell if the words are landing. And I listen. It's like, are they rustling around? Are they dead quiet? Because you want dead quiet.
I see. That's what focus sounds like.
That's
you're in it together then.
You bet. Well, and here's a good rule if you're learning to speak publicly. I never say a word till everyone is 100% quiet. And it's a great way to start a talk because you're setting the frame, eh? And if the frame is, well, I'll talk while you're talking, the message is, well, you can talk. This is a place where everybody can talk. It's like, no, it's not. This is a place where people paid to hear me talk. So I'm not going to talk till everyone's listening. And so then you get that stillness. And then you just wait because that stillness turns into an expectation. And then it turns into a kind of nervous expectation. It's like, what the hell is he doing? It's not manipulative. It's a sense of timing. It's like just when that's right, you think, okay, now it's time to start.
Well, the interesting thing about that nervous expectation is from an audience perspective, we're in it together.
Yeah.
I mean, into that silence, there's a togetherness to it.
Of course. It's the union of everyone's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great thing. I mean, you love that at a concert when it's not silence then, but when everyone's attention is unified and everyone's moving in unison, it's like we're all worshiping the same thing, right? And that would be the point of the conversation, the point of the lecture. And the worship is the direction of attention towards it. And it's communion because everyone's doing it at the same time. And so, I mean, there's not much difference between a lecture theater and a church in that regard, right? It's the same fundamental layout and structure. And they're very integrally associated with one another. One really grew out of the other. The lecture theater grew out of the church. So it's perfectly reasonable to be thinking about it in those terms. So after the lecture, we play a piece of music that is a piece of music that I've been producing with some musicians for a couple of books I'm going to release in the fall. Terrible books. ABC of Childhood Tragedy, they're called. Dark books. Dark and comical books. Terrible books. Heartbreaking illustrations. We set them to music, and so we play a piece from that. And then afterwards, I usually meet about 150 people to have photographs. And so each of those is a little...
Is there a little sparkle of a human connection that you have to...
A lot. It's very intense, 10 seconds with every person. You think, well, how can 10 seconds be intense? It's like, pay enough attention. It gets intense real quick.
Does it break your heart to say goodbye so many times?
It's like being in a wedding lineup, at a wedding that you want to be at. Mm-hmm. And everybody's dressed up. And that's so weird, because I bought these expensive suits when I went on tour. And it broke my heart because I spent so much money on them. I thought, God, that's completely unconscionable. I thought, no way, man.
Yeah.
I'm in this 100%. And so I'm going to dress with respect. And like 60% of the audience comes in 2 or 3 piece suits. They're all dressed up. Then there's this line to greet me and they're all happy to see me. That's not so hard to take, although it is in a sense, right? Because normal interactions are pretty shallow. And you think, I don't want shallow interactions. It's like, yes, you do most of the time.
Yeah. It's intense.
It's very intense.
And I don't know if
you've had a taste of this, no doubt, because people recognize.
Yeah, but I also have, when a person recognizes me and they come with love and they're often brilliant people, one of the thoughts I have to deal with, one of the dragons in my own mind is, thinking that I don't deserve that kind of attention. And so,
well, you probably don't.
Right.
But maybe
I don't.
You could.
So it's a burden in that I have to step up to be the kind of person that deserves that, not deserves that, but in part deserves that kind of attention. And
Well,
that's
and
like, holy shit.
It's crucially important too, because
Yeah.
if someone comes up to you in an airport and they know who you are and they're brave enough to admire you or who you are attempting to be, and you make a mistake, they will never forget it.
Yeah.
So it's a high stakes enterprise.
And the flip side of that, especially with young people, a few words you can say can change the direction of their life.
One way or another. And so I really have to watch this too in airports, because I do not like airports. I do not like the creeping totalitarianism in airports. They've always bothered me.
Yes.
They really bother me. And I'm an unpleasant travel companion for my wife sometimes because of that, although I think we've worked that out, thank God, because we're doing a lot of traveling. But most of the security guards and the border personnel, all those people, they know me. And as a general rule, they're positively predisposed to me. And so if I'm peevish or irritable, then, well, that's not good. It's not good. And so that's a tightrope to walk too, because I do not like that creeping totalitarianism. But by the same token, if you're just one of the crowd, sometimes it's good just to be one of the crowd, and then you're a little irritable and people can just brush that off. But if you're someone they have dared to open their heart to, because that's what admiration is, and then you betray that, then that's they'll never forget it. And then they'll tell everyone too. So it takes a lot of alertness. And so Tammy and our life has got complicated, because in Toronto, for example, we can't really just go for a walk. It's always a high drama production, because always people come up and they have some heart-rending story to tell. And I'm not being cynical about that.
Yes.
It's a hard thing to bear, because people don't do that. They don't just open themselves up to you like that and share the tragedy of their life. But that's an everyday occurrence. And so when we go up to our cottage, which is out of the city, it's a relief, because as wonderful as that is, like I have a weird life, because everywhere I go, it's very weird. It's like I'm surrounded by old friends, because I walk down the street in any city now, virtually, and people say, "Hello, Dr. Peterson, so nice to see you." Or they say better things than that, very rarely bad things. One experience in 5,000, maybe, very rare, although you don't forget those either. Mm-hmm. But it's very strange. So,
and